Hi guys, welcome back to another video. I know I covered this token like 15 days ago or something like that, but again I'm looking at KernelDAO again because it looked really interesting. So the reason I'm looking at the coin would be that this was the setup that I made in the last video, and I did say that there were two possibilities, whether it would go like make a big breakout or it will most likely go down. So that happened, it went down, but this was really good support and it went up from there. Now there are a lot of possibilities where the token can go from now on, but we'll take a look at it at the end. I did find something really interesting about the coin. That is why I'm looking at it as of now. So they have had really good updates. So starting would be that they posted this: be prepared for the convergence, Tradify, we have kernel, we have crypto. So what do I get from this? Most likely some kind of RWA or something like that, I'm not sure, but this is the announcement that may actually push like kernel token to a new high, possibly as high as 32 cent, or even like a new all-time high. That is possible, but again new all-time high is above 80 or 90 cent. That seems unlikely, but again there's the possibility that the token can push like as high as 33 cent or even 34 cent. That's the possibility. Now another news would be that they just announced kernel season 4, the next chapter. So basically they kicked off their new airdrop from September 1st to Feb 28th, as you can see here. And over the next 6 months, 1% of the total kernel supply is allocated to reward for the users who actively engage with KernelDAO ecosystem. So 1%, like what is that? It is not that high, of course, but again it's fairly good, I would say. Now the token does have a max supply of 1 billion. Now if we look at its tokenomics, this is how this looks like. So basically they have 55% to the community and airdrop rewards, private sales 20%, team and advisors 20%, and ecosystem partners 5%. So if we talk about the token in the long term, the token I think is doomed to go down because in April of 2026 we will see a massive token unlocks, big from the private sale investors as well as from the team. As you can see here, both of them have a like lock-up post TGE of like 12 months, as you can see. So that means in April or in most likely in March of 2026 there will be a massive sell pressure on the kernel token from both of these entities. So that means the token will most likely suffer in like 2026 March, but that doesn't mean that it won't go up as of now, because it seems like that they have this massive news. I think if they do drop it, it could be a really big thing for the kernel token in general. Now the thing that I noticed, a really good interesting thing, would be that if you look here, this is the kernel itself. They support like 16 chains, and as of now we are looking at the base itself. Now if you look at like 30-day gains, the kernel has like gained over 50% of the TVL in the last 30 days on the base. So this, I would say, is a massive growth when it comes to the TVL. And if we look at its TVL, it continues to go up. Of course it is like struggling as of now. I think that has to do with overall market, but it is doing really well. It is not doing that well on the Binance Smart Chain, but overall it seems like that it is taking off on Ethereum. So like Ethereum's layer 2 are really popping off on the kernel's ecosystem. So I would say that's really good. Now if you don't know what the KernelDAO is, I will just give you a simple introduction because I have already covered the token in detail in separate videos. Now this is how it looks like. So they have three products: Kernel, Kelp and Gain. So Kernel is basically restaking on BNB, Kelp is a liquidity staking for Ethereum, and there is this Gain, which is a vault for Ethereum and liquid assets, as you can see. So they have these three products, and if we look at their roadmap, they are basically preparing to enter in the RWA market entry. So this thing, or this announcement, could be big one. So even if we look here, we have they just posted this convergence like on 29th August, as you can see that. So that means they are very close to the announcement for their RW entry. So once they do enter in the RW market, I think there's a pretty good possibility that the kernel could go like as high as 32 to 33 cents, because if you look here, there was a pretty good demand here somewhere around here. So there were a lot of buyers waiting to buy the coin, and they actually end up getting a pretty good entry. So this was a really good week for the entry as well. Now if we take a look at how its trend has been doing, so this is the trend that we are taking in this video as of now. So now we are considering that this is the trend line that the token is most likely following. Of course, the previous one was a bit too steep, so I think this one does makes really sense. Now as of now, considering what they have been cooking, like if we look at the RW entry, it could be big one, and in Q4 they have like multi-chain expansion in plan as well. They will also expand the RW product, so this is going to be a really good couple of months for, I would say, kernel token in general. So we could be looking at a massive surge. So if the announcement is impressive, and if the investors or whoever is buying the kernel decides that it is a bullish announcement, I think that token will most likely see this massive surge. So I think this setup could actually work really well in the upward trajectory. It can also do the exact same thing, like if the announcement is not that impressive, we could also see a massive sellout, and it can basically go as low as 13 cents. That is also a possibility that you should not ignore, because as of now the token is in a really good spot. So it all depends on the announcement that they make. So if the announcement is impressive, and if these investors decide that that is really good one, I think there's a pretty good possibility that the first, of course, it will like most likely go as high as 28 to like 25 cents, because that's the first resistance that we could be looking at. Now it can do this, so let's just try to take this. So it can like make this breakout, and it can retest, and if it like breaks out from here, we could be looking at a massive surge as high as like 33 cents. So that is a possibility. Now overall, as I said when I started the video, there is a big problem with its tokenomics, and that problem is basically that the investors as well as the team will get their token in March or in April of 2026, and that is when we will most likely see a massive sell pressure, because these investors and the team may actually want to take some profit. So that is a possibility that the token can go down. So basically what this means, that kernel token should be a really good hold as long as the announcement is impressive, and as long as the adoption of the kernel RWA is up there. And if you look at STVL is doing really well, and I think that has to do with the airdrop season. So I think till Feb of 2006, the token could be a really good buy. Now as of now, I think overall it all depends on the announcement. So if the announcement is good, we will most likely see a massive breakout. If the announcement bad, we could be looking at really we could be looking at a retest as low as 13 cents. So that is a possibility as well. So let's see what happens. But overall, I think it all depends on the announcement that they make. Let's see what happens.